Good morning, and welcome to the worship service of the First Unitarian Church of Hobart. My name is Tracy Ferrell. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I participate in the life of the church by chairing the by chairing the buildings and grounds. We are a religious community of people with diverse beliefs and shared values. Our diverse beliefs are expressed in our 6 sources, and our shared values are expressed in our 7 principles, both of which can be found online at the uua.org website. Together, we strive to grow spiritually, build community, and live our values in the world. We are currently in search of a full-time minister. When we do not have a minister in the pulpit, we invite members or guests to share a special message with us. This is one such Sunday, and you are very fortunate to hear from me. We are currently streaming our service online. The joys and sorrows portion of the service is, however, private, and we will take a break from streaming during that part of the service. The sermon portion of the service will be recorded and will be available for future viewing on Facebook, YouTube, and the church website. Let your Facebook and Twitter friends know you are attending worship with hashtag First Unitarian Hobart. Due to the increase in COVID-19 cases, the more infectious Delta variant and Omicron variant, we are not currently having live services in church, so everything is online. Please take a moment to take a deep breath and join us in a spirit of reverence. Please join us in lighting the chalice. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light the beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
People say, "What is the sense of our small effort?" They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, take one step at a time. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each one of our thoughts, words, and deeds is like that. No one has the right to sit down and feel hopeless. There is too much work to do.
happy to say that.
The opening hymn is number 146. They will arise.
Opening hymn is 146. Please join us if you have your great hymnals at home. We are striving to create a worship space with both spiritual and which is both spiritual and safe. However, we recognize that not everyone can attend in person. We extend a special welcome to everyone who is joining us virtually today. Thank you to our tech team for making the live streaming and recording possible. Due to the increase in the COVID-19 cases and the more infectious variant, the greater your neighbor portion of the service will be contactless, obviously. Please take a moment to greet your neighbor by waving your hands and smile at each other through your eyes. You can unmute yourselves, I guess.
Hello. Can't hear us.
I don't know if I'm sure they can.
Hello.
Hi, William.
Rosalind's going to share our morning children's story with us.
Hola, good morning, everyone. We're going to read the story today, Up the Creek, by Nicholas Oland. But the Children Can Press, which is a good group to look for when you want to write books for your kids and grandkids. Once there was a bear, a moose, and a beaver who were the best friends, though they often disagreed. Thank you for our tech team putting up the pictures for us. One sunny day, the bear, the moose, and the beaver decided to go canoeing. The moose wanted to steer, but so did the bear and the beaver. They all sat in the stern. With so much weight in the back of the canoe, it tipped. They ended up in the water. So they played eeny, meeny, miny, moe. It was decided that the moose would steer. They settled back into the canoe and began to paddle. Catch a tiger by the toe. If he howls, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. The bear insisted on paddling port side, but the beaver and the moose also preferred the left. With everyone paddling on the same side, they traveled in circles. So their arms got tired. So they began to switch sides. That's when they finally started to travel in a straight line. But just as they began to make progress, they came to a stop at a beaver dam. They all had different ideas of how to get across. The beaver wanted to push the canoe, but that didn't work. The moose thought they should pull the canoe. That didn't work either. Fortunately, the bear figured it out, and only way across was the portage. Back in the water, the bear and the moose and the beaver settled into a rhythm and started to really enjoy paddling along the river. Uh-oh, stop splashing. Keep paddling. I'm hungry. But it wasn't long. They began to argue. They argued so loudly they didn't notice the current growing stronger and a quiet rumbling in the distance until it was too late. The river had turned into a wild white water rapids. Ah! Thrown sideways, underwater, through the air, and everywhere, the bear, the moose, and the beaver held on to their lives. Holy smokes, that's quite a ride. Exhausted, bruised, and wet, the three friends landed on a rock in the middle of the rapids. Whew, good thing, they were tired. The moose wanted to burn the canoe to make a signal fire. The bear wanted to throw the beaver to shore to get help. Well, the beaver figured swimming to shore would be safer. They argued over whose plan was best well into the night. The next morning, it dawned on the bear, the moose, and the beaver that they would have to work together to make it home safely. They can do it. So they climbed back into their battered canoe, took a deep breath, and ran the rapids. They twisted, they leaped, they crashed, they blasted through this water. The rapids were fierce, but with the bear's powerful strokes, the moose's steady hoof, and the beaver's clever commands, they set true, clear course. At last, the bear, the moose, and the beaver made it to shore. After the much-needed nap, the bear, the moose, and the beaver worked together to prepare the canoe and paddles, and catch some fish, and cook lunch. Before they tucked into their meal, they all gave thanks to the wildest venture they had ever had. Rested and relaxed, the bear, the moose, the beaver were ready to set out for home. After taking a long look at the ragged rapids, they decided to walk. They could agree with that.
Thank you, Rosalind. And thank you, Sandy, for the great choice of books this week. All right. This congregation expresses our greatest joys and deepest sorrows in community. We believe that a joy shared is magnified and a sorrow shared is diminished. We pause, listening to what arises from within our hearts. Your joys and sorrows will not be streamed online, nor will it be part of the recording, which is made public. So please take a few minutes and type in to the chat lines, and that will be okay. Thank you. We lift up these joys and sorrows and hold them in our hearts, including those too tender to share about. Service is our prayer. That is the name of my sermon today. I was asked to give this service about buildings and grounds, but since I'm here and nobody can boo me off, I'm going to take some time to talk about our communal prayer, service. But first, I want to take a minute and get centered in this beautifully simple building with its amber glass, high ceilings, perfect acoustics, and a few beautiful people to share it with. Thank you. This building has been here for nearly 150 years, housed many community action groups, and opened its doors to many people looking for a more liberal religious home. And with good stewardship, it can last at least another 150 years. Our prayer, our service, is our common denominator. Actively working to make the world a better place. Whether you believe in a deity or not, service to each other, our building, our planet, to humanity is the one thing we all have in common. This is the part that made me want to be a part of this community. Our biggest and most obvious commonality is this building. It is a beacon for those in our community that need a place to be accepted, to feel accepted. It's a place that fosters freedom of religious exploration. It's a haven for those that haven't felt free to grow in their own spirituality. My first version of this sermon was going to be about preserving the past, both historically and the building, but preparing for the future we want and need. I scrapped it mostly because I didn't want to stand up here and quote off a bunch of things that me and James and a few others have been able to accomplish over the last year. I don't need accolades for something that I love. Instead, I found something much more important, our prayer. I've got to say, the research you do when preparing a service can get out of control. Like, who first coined the proverb, many hands make light work? Sorry, my nose is running now. Some of you probably know that this already, but it traces back to knightly romance from the 14th century called Sir Bevis of Hampton. Oh, thank you. I took them all. Now you made me lose my spot. Sir Bevis, yes. Sir Bevis of Hampton. But I will always remember it from my 8th grade coach at the end of practice, picking up all the balls that we left all over the court. So he said it every day. Thank you, Mr. Brown. So I'm sure most of you have a memory that you can relate it to also. We need many hands involved here at First Unitarian. We need you. If any of you have your gray hymnals at home, you can follow along. I have a reading from the gray hymnal, number 567, to be of use. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who stand in a line and haul in their places, who are not parlor generals or field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in and the fire be put out. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands and crumbles to dust.
But the things worth doing
well has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine and oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries to water, the person for work that is real. It threw me off when you guys started reading it. This is probably the hardest thing for me to ever admit. I need help. We need help. Buildings and grounds needs help. Organizing, cleaning, ministering. Ministering, you say? Yes, ministering. I personally have found the best way to be present for someone is to help them accomplish a task. You get to spend some time with someone, speaking candidly, or not. Sometimes you do a little selfless task with someone else in silence can be more reparative than anything. I can't imagine a better place to accomplish those tasks than in our beautiful building or on its grounds. It is the one thing our visitors see, and it should be a place for us all to come recharge our batteries, both spiritually and emotionally. And I know that James and I have grown a friendship over the last 6 months, finishing all these projects, one after another, sometimes a little tedious, sometimes not. And having each other's backs and confiding in each other over the many hours together. I'm a better person because of it. Most of you know I lost my mom when I was 15. My siblings were all grown up and moved out. My dad worked mostly midnights and afternoons. And I thought I was alone. Or so I thought. Luckily, I have 5 best friends. To this day, I still have those friends. They knew I was hurting, mostly silently. They never talked about it. We never talked about it. But they constantly checked on me. This was before cell phones, obviously, because I'm an old man now. But we all lived within a few blocks of each other. Before we even had our licenses, they would walk over randomly and check on me. Sometimes they'd stay the night, eat all my food, help me drink my dad's booze on the weekends. But just having them around helped me heal. Having them at my house, a little nice squeak there, just to watch a movie or basketball game was enough. While my dad wasn't there in person most of the time, he would leave me a note on the table and dinner in the fridge. And his handwriting was atrocious, like a doctor's. Horrible. You could not read it. But I could tell from his notes that he loved me. I learned the hard way about the power of being present. And I vowed to be present for as many as possible from that time forward. Please join me for another reading from the back of the gray hymnal. This is reading 606, the Tau. 606. Before creation, a presence existed, self-contained, complete, formless, voiceless, mateless, changeless, which yet pervaded itself with unending motherhood.
Though there can be no
Name for it, I have called it the way of life. Perhaps I should have called it the fullness of life, since fullness implies a widening into space, implies still further widening, implies widening until the circle is whole.
In this sense, the way of life is fulfilled. Heaven is fulfilled. Earth is fulfilled. And the fit person also is fulfilled.
I'm sorry, my print cut off there.
It's the next page.
Yes, I lost. It's not on my next page. It got blanked out somehow. Thank you, dear. There are the four amplitudes of the universe, and a fit person is one of them. People rounding the way of earth, earth rounding the way of heaven, heaven rounding the way of life, till the circle is full. Thank you, Maggie. Most of you that have sat through one of my meetings, my many meetings, I've ran. I usually open and close my meetings with some sort of motivational quotes. One of the writers I've grown to love over the years is Eckhart Tolle. One of my favorites is the following: as soon as you honor the present moment, all unhappiness and struggle dissolve, and life begins to flow with joy and ease. When you act out of present moment awareness, whatever you do becomes imbued with a sense of quality, care, and love, even the most simple action. So here's what I'm asking. I'm asking all of you to give a little time to this building. There are some changes coming to the building, and I hope you all like them, because James and myself and a few others have poured a lot of time and effort and spiritual energy into these. And for those who may wonder, of course we did it with the board's approval. So these updates have been mostly cosmetic lately and have been way past due for some time. Others may be a little bit more drastic, but I'm going to leave a little mystery to it. So when the building opens back up, we're not going to put a date on it yet, but when it opens back up, the curiosity will get to you and you'll have to come back just to see what we did.
See what you did.
So, many of us are wearing more than one hat here at this church. But I want to challenge all of you to stay engaged in the life of this church, especially when we hire a new minister. It is not fair to a new minister for us to fall away from the church and expect changes that we need to happen. They will need everyone. We will need everyone. I want to change that to we will need everyone, not they. To give of ourselves to be successful, instead of finding a new group or committee to serve, even if it's only for a few hours a week. While it is important to include new members, it is imperative that we all stay active in our community. Can you imagine how strong our church community will be with a new minister and an active volunteer corps that is engaged? Like I said before, I know my biggest fault is not asking for help. I'm horrible at it. So here it is. I need your help. I need more people to join Buildings and Grounds. I need more people to commit to spring and fall cleanups. I need more people to take care of little tiny projects that, something they see that needs done. Just let me know and I'll make sure you have whatever you need to get it done. I need you. We need you. This church needs you. Amen. This is the time in our service that we take our offering. We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give because we give with the faith that together we have enough. There's an online link on the screen for both one-time and regular donations. You can also contribute in person by putting money in the paper basket, which there's nobody here, so we won't be doing that.
Mail a check to the church.
But you can mail a check to the church. The address is on our website. Thank you. For your prayers, your presence, your service, and your gifts, we are truly grateful. Please join us as you're willing and able for our closing hymn. 309. 301, I'm sorry. Touch the earth, reach the sky. closing words.
Love cannot remain by itself. It has no meaning. Love has to be put into action, and that action is service. Whatever form we are, able or disabled, rich or poor, it is not how much we do, but how much love we put in the doing. A lifelong sharing of love with others.
Thank you, Jeremy. Please join me in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Yes, please join us for a virtual coffee hour. Thank you.